Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you on this conference organized by Association ACD. Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs. Nous avons le plaisir de vous retrouver ce soir pour cette conférence avec l'association ACD. J'ai le plaisir d'avoir à mes côtés Diane Krief. I have the pleasure to have and the honor to have with me Diana Krief, who is the president of ACD Association. So we are still waiting for some people to join this Zoom conference. On attend encore quelques personnes pour rejoindre cette conférence Zoom, but I will just ask during this time to Diane if she can introduce us a little bit and tell us a little bit more about ACD Association. So Diane, tell us a little bit more.
Thank you very much, Florian. And thank you for the audience also. I see that there are quite a few people who are trying to connect at the moment. We've also lost two of our panelists, but hopefully they will be there. And I would like to thank our panelists, the audience also. So now I will give a very short, quick introduction about ACD. So ACD stands for Association, Cooperation, and Development. ACD was founded in 2019. That's about 3 years ago. And now if we take the meaning of ACD, immediately we will find the aim already in the name. First of all, we've got association. To have an association, you need at least 2 people. To have a cooperation, you need 2 people. You need good ideas and a good relationship. And then afterwards comes the word development. When you have a good and positive relation and positive issues to have a cooperation, you have a good development that enables you to advance.
I will translate it a little bit. Je vais traduire un petit peu en français. Donc, cette session, cette conférence sera partiellement bilingue. This conference will be partially bilingual, mainly in English, but there will be some interruptions or some summaries in French. Et en particulier, si vous êtes francophone, que l'anglais n'est pas une langue que vous maîtrisez bien ou que vous comprenez parfaitement, vous aurez la possibilité d'aller dans le chat. Et nous avons 1 ou 2 personnes de notre équipe qui va vous mettre de temps en temps, le plus souvent possible, des résumés de ce qui est dit pour vous aider à mieux comprendre ce qui a été exprimé pendant la conférence. Donc, Diane, tu me corriges parce que tu es aussi bilingue, tu me corriges. Donc, tu as dit que l'association ACD, c'était donc pour Association pour la coopération et pour le développement. Tu as parlé de partage, du fait qu'en association, on doit être 2. Pour la coopération, il faut être au moins 2 au minimum et qu'il y avait aussi cette vision par rapport au développement. Je te laisse continuer.
Because when we have a development, automatically, that means that one is going to advance, whether it be economical, cultural, with infrastructure. So this is very important. And what is fantastic is that the panelists that are here today, they are on constructing something. They are constructing something good for the future, good relations. And hopefully there will be a lot of people who will follow you, follow the fantastic example that you are giving. So again, I would like to thank you very much. And I would like to thank you all for having accepted this invitation. Excellent. And we are going to hear stories from you. We are not going to hear everything because I already spoke to you and I was fascinated when I heard all what you've already done. So we are just going to hear something short and simple, and thank you very much. And I know that you've also got an NGO, and hopefully we will try and see how we can promote all the fantastic work that you are doing. Thank you.
Merci. Donc, un tout petit résumé de ce que tu viens de dire, Diane. La coopération et surtout le développement, que ce soit dans le domaine économique, que ce soit dans le domaine de l'humanitaire ou dans tout autre domaine, a toujours été un vecteur de promotion de la paix, un vecteur aussi de promotion des relations entre les peuples. Et donc, tu as remercié aussi nos panélistes parce qu'ils ont vraiment cette vision de créer des ponts et de mettre la coopération au service des populations. Nous allons entendre maintenant dans un petit instant Phil Saunders et Ziad Sabateen. I will introduce you, Phil Saunders and Ziad. Phil Saunders and Ziad Sabateen, you have founded together an association called Path of Hope and Peace. This is an association built in Israel, around Jerusalem, and not around Jerusalem, but in this region. And I think this association has precisely the aim to contribute, helping people work together instead of working against each other, to work and to cooperate together. So Phil Saunders, you've got a degree in mathematics from the Manchester University, and Ziad, you are a community leader in the town of Husan. Do I say it well? Husan, it's near Bethlehem, correct?
Yes.
You correct me if I'm wrong. So Phil and Ziad, you have the floor. We are very happy and proud to hear you, both of you.
Okay, thank you very much. So Ziad will begin, and he'll be speaking in Hebrew, and I will translate for him into English. So, as Ziad, כן, אנחנו כן, בבקשה, Ziad. Okay, Ziad will now begin his story.
שלום לכולם, ערב טוב, מה נשמע, מה שלומכם?
Hello everybody, good evening, how are you all?
ההיסטוריה שלי היא התחילה בשנת 82, באמת אבא שלי היה סוחר שנכנס לארץ כל הזמן ומתעסק בעבודת שלו עם ישראלים כל הזמן.
So he's beginning his story with his father, who was a tradesman and used to enter Israeli towns and work with Israelis.
אז היינו פוגשים כל זמן ישראלים והיו באים אלינו לבית שלנו אפילו, ואנחנו גם היינו נכנסים לבית שלהם באמת, היינו כמו משפחה אחת באמת.
And he's saying that in those days it was standard to go to each other's houses, and they felt like one big extended family, Israelis and Palestinians together.
אז זה פשוט היינו רגיל לראות ישראלים ופלסטינאים ביחד באזור שלנו, כי האזור שלנו הוא על הגבול.
And so it was normal for Israelis and Palestinians to meet and interact because our area is exactly, it straddles the green line. And so Israelis and Palestinians live close to each other.
אז בשנת 90 חבר שלי התקשר אליי מחברון, הוא גר בכפר ליד חברון, הוא אומר לי, זיאד, אני צריך לפגוש אותך. אמרתי לו, בסדר, הלכתי, פגשתי איתו, והוא התחיל לדבר איתי על שלום ועל איך לעשות שלום בין השכנים, בין האנשים.
So in 1990, a friend of his in the area of Hebron contacted him and asked to meet him and to talk to him about the idea of peace.
אמרתי לו, מה אתה מדבר על איזה שלום ועם מי לעשות שלום ודברים כאלו? הוא אמר לי, צריכים לבנות ארגון ששימשו לוחמים לשלום.
And he asked, okay, how do you anticipate doing something to build peace? And this friend said, we should set up an organization with the name Combatants for Peace.
אז אמרתי לו, בסדר, בוא ננסה את זה, בוא נעשה את זה, כי הייתי באמת מתוכי, يعني אהבתי את ישראלים, והם אהבו אותנו, אכפת לי לחיות ביחד, אכפת לנו להתרחק מכל הסוגים של השנאה, גזענות ודברים כאלו.
And Ziad was interested in the idea. He wanted to get away from any concepts of bad relations, and if this could help build positive relations, he wanted to be a part of it.
והתחלנו לעבוד באמת להקים את הארגון הזה ששימשו לוחמים לשלום, עד שהגענו למצב, באמת חילקנו את הארגון הזה לשלושה קבוצות, דרום חברון, מרכז ירושלים בית לחם, וצפון טול כרם וכפר סבא.
Okay, so they set the organization up in three principal areas, which was the south centered on Hebron, the center centered on Jerusalem and Bethlehem, and the north centered on Samaria.
באמת אנשים בשתי צדדים הם קיבלו אותנו בצורה כבוד גדול מצד הישראלי ומצד הפלסטיני, ועשינו הרבה פעילויות בצורה משותפת, ישראלים ופלסטינים ביחד, בכל מיני, לשתול עצים, לעשות סוג של חיים משותפים.
And they began to be very active, for example, planting seeds together to build a future together, and do all kinds of activities to bring Israelis and Palestinians together.
أنا هيتي أحري على القدس של ירושלים בית לחם.
And he was responsible from the Palestinian side for the area in the center, the connection between Jerusalem and Bethlehem.
אז ביום התקשר אליי אחראי עליי, אמר לי זיאד, הוא אחראי היה מתל אביב, כאילו שותף שלי שעובד איתי, אמר לי זיאד, יש אנשים שכנים מגוש עציון שעושים הפגנה נגד גדר הפרדה, אתה צריך ללכת לראות מה הם עושים שם.
Okay, and then one day he received a call from the head of the organization based in Tel Aviv, asking Ziad to have a look and find out what's going on, that there were some Israelis from the area of Gush Etzion apparently doing a demonstration in his area.
אז הלכתי, פגשתי שם, ראיתי שם אנשים שהם גרים בגוש עציון, בכפר תקוע, ומתנחלים.
And so Ziad went down there and met a group of settlers who were there indeed.
אחד מהם באמת היה הרב מנחם פרומן.
And one of them was Rabbi Menachem Froman.
אז התחלתי לדבר עם הרב מנחם פרומן, מה אתם עושים בדברים כאלו, הוא אמר לי, אנחנו באנו לעשות הפגנה נגד גדר הפרדה, ואכפת לנו לעשות שלום בין העמים. אמרתי לו, וואו, זה דבר מוזר בעיניים שלי, לראות מתנחלים שאכפת להם שלום, אכפת להם דו-קיום, אכפת להם חיים משותפים.
Okay, so Ziad asked him, what is he doing there at a demonstration? And Rabbi Froman responded that he was there to campaign against the building of a separation wall and instead to promote cooperation between Israelis and Palestinians. And Ziad said, wow, this is something very strange for me, that you're a settler and yet you're wanting to work together with us. He hadn't heard of anything like that before.
והוא יזמין אותי למחרת לבית שלו.
And Rabbi Froman immediately invited Ziad to come and visit his home in the town of Tekoa.
באמת אני פחדתי מאוד, פחדתי מה זה, הוא משתגע, מתנחלים, אנחנו יש לנו תמונה רעה על מתנחלים שהם רק חותכים עצים ועושים רק בעיות ודברים כאלה, וזה מדבר איתי אחרת, בשפה אחרת, בדברים של שלום ודו-קיום, בדברים כאלו.
And this was very strange for Ziad. He had an impression that he'd heard that settlers were very difficult Israelis to work with, that they weren't friendly at all to Palestinians, and suddenly here was a wonderful Israeli settler speaking words of peace and reaching out to him.
אז באמת למחרת אמרתי אני חייב ללכת לנסות מה זה אומר, לבדוק מה הוא אומר, يعني צודק, לא צודק, מה הוא רוצה, להרוג אותי, לא להרוג אותנו כמו שאנחנו יודעים, בכל זאת הייתי אמיץ ואמרתי אני חייב ללכת לבקר.
And so Ziad was very afraid to go to a settlement. He was worried that maybe they'd want to kill him there, but he felt he absolutely had to go and see what this rabbi was talking about.
אז הלכתי אליו לבית שלו, נפגשתי איתו בבית שלו, דיברנו על מה הוא רוצה, מה החזון שלו, מה הוא חושב ודברים כאלו. באמת אני ראיתי אחרת, ראיתי תמונה אחרת לגמרי.
And so he went to the rabbi's house and he listened and he heard words which absolutely amazed him and opened his eyes to new possibilities.
אז התחלנו לדבר על נושא של שלום, מי אתה, איך אתה רוצה לעשות את השלום. הוא אמר לי אני חבר של אבו עמר, בזמנו הוא היה אבו עמר חי, וגם חבר של אחמד יאסין אפילו.
Okay, and he said that he had strong connections on the Palestinian side, including Arafat, Abu Amr, and even Sheikh Yassin, the founder of Hamas.
אז סיימתי את הפגישה איתו וחזרתי ללוחמים לשלום, אמרתי להם, יש לנו בעיה רצינית, שיש מתנחלים שהם נותנים לנו יד לשלום.
And so after that meeting, he reported back to the head of combatants for peace and said, there's something amazing I've found. There are settlers that want to engage positively with us and build peace with us.
והם אמרו, אסור לך לדבר איתם ואסור לנו להתפגש איתם עד שיצאו מהגדה ומההתנחלויות שלהם. אמרתי לה, אבל הוא בן אדם שנותן לנו יד לשלום, והוא חבר של אבו עמאר ושל ערפאת וחבר של אחמד יאסין, והוא בן אדם מחפש שלום, מחפש דו-קיום בין העמים.
And the head of the organization responded saying, absolutely not. We're not supposed to work with them until they leave their homes. And Ziad said, but this guy is wanting to build peace with us, and he's got excellent relations with the heads of the Palestinian leaders. Why are you saying that?
אז באמת הם לא הסכימו, אז אני עזבתי אותם והלכתי לרב נחמן פרומן, הקמנו ארגון שמשלו ארץ שלום.
And unfortunately, the leader wasn't convinced. And in the end, Ziad decided, well, if they're not willing to work with Rabbi Froman, I would prefer to leave this organization and begin working with Rabbi Froman instead. And so they did, and they set up a different organization called Land of Peace together.
באמת עבדנו ביחד באזור של גוש עציון במיוחד, ועבדנו בצורה באמת איך להתחיל לעשות עבודה משותפת בין שכנים. שאני אכפת לי לעשות שלום בין השכן שלי, יותר חשוב לי מלעשות שלום מאנשים שהם בתל אביב, בחיפה, ביפו, רחוקים, למרות שאני לא נגד אנשים שגרים בחיפה או בתל אביב או ביפו, להפך. אני רוצה את כולם להתייחד בעזרת השם, אבל לאט לאט. התחלנו לעשות שיחות עם הרב מנחם פרומן, עם שכנים שלנו, והתקדמנו בצורה באמת מצוינת.
Okay, and so they began working together with a focus on neighbor projects, working together, Israelis and Palestinians that live close to each other, which for him was more important than working with Israelis in Tel Aviv or Haifa, for example. He felt shalom, peace needs to begin at home in the home area, and so this was the focus of their work.
ועבדנו בצורה קשה מאוד, באמת. עד שניסינו לשכנע את האנשים, את שתי עמים, איך להתפגש אחד עם השני, ביחד כאילו. באמת היה קשה מאוד להפגיש בין הפלסטינאים למתנחלים, עד שהתחלנו לעבוד בצורה לאט לאט, ולשנות את הדעת של האנשים, שיש ממתנחלים, אנשים שמחפשים שלום, אכפת להם לחיות ביחד.
And Ziad faced a lot of criticism at the beginning that he was working with settlers, but in the end, the results showed that slowly people became convinced on both sides that this was work that was important and was succeeding.
עד שקיבלת מחלה הרב מנחם פרומן, שזכרונו ברוך, קיבלת מחלה קשה ונפטר.
And everything went well until, unfortunately, Rabbi Froman developed cancer and unfortunately passed away.
עכשיו היה לנו תוכנית בזמן של הרב מנחם פרומן להקים מודל של דו-קיום אמיתי, שלום בצורה משותפת, מגע יומי. אז אמרתי, אני צריך להמשיך בדרך של הרב שזכרונו ברוך אחרי שנפטר, והתחלנו לעבוד באזור שלנו.
And after Rabbi Froman passed away, Ziad decided that he had to carry on the vision of building a joint society that he and Rabbi Froman had begun. And so he decided to continue the work in the area where he lives, the town of Husan, and the area surrounding, including my town.
באמת חיפשתי מישהו שיכול להיות במקום רבי מנחם פרומן שזכרונו ברוך, עד שגיליתי והגעתי לאחד שמשלו פיל, שכן שלי מצור הדסה, באמת, והתחלנו לבנות את המודל שבנינו אותו באזור שלנו, בנינו מודל שהוא אזור באמת חיים משותפים בצורה משותפת, בצורה חזקה מאוד ברוך השם.
And so he looked for a new partner, and he found me in the town of Tzur Adasa, and we began working together to crystallize that dream in our locality.
Can I intervene with a question, because that's an amazing story, Ziad, and could you tell us a little bit, Ziad, in which circumstance, in which context you met with Phil?
Okay, happy to ask. הוא אומר שזה סיפור מדהים, והוא רוצה לדעת איך אנחנו נפגשנו.
נפגשנו דרך, היה לי הרבה חברים בגוש עציון, שכנים שלנו, שהם מכירים אותי, שמעו עליי הרבה. אז הוא הלך אליהם, שאל אותם, אני רוצה לחפש בן אדם שאני יכול לעבוד איתו באזור שלנו. הם נתנו לו את הטלפון שלי, והוא התקשר אליי. אחד שם שלו ירון רוזנטל, שהוא באמת בן אדם מכובד מאוד, ועובד למען הדו-קיום, למען השלום בין השכנים, אז זה בצורה זאת.
Okay, so Ziad already had a very wide network and a reputation of having worked in peace for many years. And when I arrived in the area, I was looking for a way to meet the Palestinians, and I got in contact with the field school in Gush Etzion, and the head of the field school at that time was Yaron Rosenthal, and he immediately recommended that I should meet with Ziad because Ziad is the man in our area, and we met, and the rest is history.
באמת אני רוצה לחזור לזמנו של הרב מנחם פרומן, שזכרנו ברוך. אני רוצה להגיד לכם, אני למדתי הרבה מהרב מנחם פרומן, שזכרנו ברוך. למדתי דבר הכי חשוב בחיים שלי, שלמדתי איתו, שאין יותר קדוש מהחיים של האדם, ואנחנו כולנו צריכים לפעול למען החיים של האדם. לא מעניין אותי מה הדת שלו, ולא מעניין אותי מה המחשבות של האדם הזה.
Okay, and he's talking about what he learned from Rabbi Froman, and that there is nothing more sacred than the sanctity of human life, and that's the basis of all of his work and vision, and what we're working together today.
גם למדנו באמת שתמיד אומרים שהמתנחלים הם העקבה בדרך של השלום. להפך, יכול להיות שהם יהיו האור שמביא את השלום ביחד. אם נשתתף, אם נעבוד ביחד, יכול להיות שנעשה באמת.
And he says many people used to say, and perhaps still say, that the settlers are the problem, whereas he's saying it's the opposite. They are the opportunity. They are their neighbors, and they can work together. And he always used to say, I never met Rabbi Froman, unfortunately, but one of the things apparently Rabbi Froman used to say is the heart of the problem is also the heart of the solution.
אני את המסר הזה אומר אותו, או שולח אותו לאירופים במיוחד, באמת, ואנשים של השמאל קצת. באמת, אכפת לי שהם יבינו שלא כל טעויות שלהם הם רק תולים על מתנחלים עם העקבה, המתנחלים עם העקבה של השלום. לא, להפך, יכול להיות שהם יהיו המפתח שמביא את השלום. הם צריכים, הם יש רצון לזה.
And so he's saying one of the main messages he wants to put out to everyone is that we shouldn't be looking at people in such a black and white way. The settlers may indeed be the very key to success.
וברוך השם, אני עד שהכרתי את פיל ועבדנו כבר בערך 9 שנים בערך, עובדים ביחד, הצלחנו בצורה מצוינת לייצר דו-קיום אמיתי באזור שלנו, לייצר סוג של מערכת שהיא באמת לא נמצא בארץ מודל כזה, ברוך השם, ואנחנו עכשיו בונים עוד מודל כזה באזורים אחרים.
Okay, and so he's saying we've been working together for nearly 9 years now, and we've really built a model of coexistence that perhaps doesn't exist anywhere else in the land, and we are now seeking to replicate it in other areas and spread it across the entire land.
אני יש לי מסר מבוא להגיד לכם באמת חבר'ה, מישהו מחפש את השלום, הדרך של השלום באמת, קודם כל השלום הוא הדרך בעצמו.
Okay, and he wants to say that absolutely peace is the way, and where there's a will, there is a way to build that peace.
הדרך של השלום באמת היא לא דרך כל הברכים והקלות ורק תלך תעשה שלום בקלות. לא, להפך, אנחנו רואים את המוות בעיניים שלנו, ים של פעמים, ולא מתייאשים וממשיכים.
And he says, it isn't easy work. It's not a matter of just handing out flowers and everything is fine. It's serious work, but nevertheless, when you invest in it, it really pays dividends. And that's what we're seeing in our area.
ולא מתייאשים להפך, אנחנו בעזרת השם נמשיך עד שנביא את השלום, אינשאללה.
And we certainly are not in despair at all. There are many people out there that feel no hope because the peace process has failed to deliver anything. But we feel that we can see the results, the fruits of our labors in front of our eyes on a daily basis. And so we call ourselves the path of hope and peace because we want to instill hope and belief that peace is possible.
כל אחד אוהב את הילדים שלו, אוהב את המשפחה שלו. אנחנו באמת גם אוהבים את המשפחות שלנו, ואוהבים את הילדים שלנו, ואכפת לנו שיהיה שלום בעזרת השם בו, לחיות בשלום רחוק מכל הסוגים של האלימות.
And all of us love our families and our children, and there is a shared desire to build a better future for all of us. And inshallah, with God's help, that is what will happen.
Thank you, Ziad. Sorry, I just want to interrupt you just for a second, and then I will ask you a question. Thank you very much. That's amazing. J'aimerais juste dire en français. Donc, si vous allez dans le fil de discussion, vous avez une traduction, comme annoncé. Beaucoup de passages, en fait, qui sont traduits en ce moment par Diane en français. Donc, voilà, vous pouvez avoir un résumé comme ça. Sorry, you can have a summary in French. I was just mentioning that. This is really an amazing story, Ziad. I mean, there is a fade. How do you say in English? A
thread.
A thread. There is a thread from the beginning of when you were in your childhood or when you were a little boy. With this concept of peace, shalom, there was such we could feel that there was such unity. It was so common to live and to coexist in peace. That's really touching, and also you could continue and you could perpetuate this, and that's really strong. I would like now maybe to hear also Phil. What is the way? What drew you actually to Israel? What drew you, led you to enter in contact with people like Ziad?
Okay, so I was living in London, and an Israeli girl moved into the apartment where I lived, and we liked each other, and we got married and decided to move to Israel. So I had no plan originally. Okay. Sorry, I just explained to Ziad that it's my turn now. And so, yeah, we arrived in Israel, and we started life in Tel Aviv, and I just began getting involved. But I'm happy to now, I'll now tell my story and how things changed for me as it proceeded. So shall I just begin with my story, and that will answer?
Just ask Ziad first if he's finished, if he wants to add something, sure. and just tell him that we are very moved by this story. I mean, it's not so. I think it's quite exceptional actually to hear this kind of story. We in the news, at least in Switzerland, we much more listen. And the opposite kind of story, how people hate themselves, how people fight against each other, etc. So if you can translate him also.
Okay, sure. אז הוא אומר שזה מדהים לשמוע כל מה שאתה אומר, בגלל שבחדשות הם תמיד רואים דברים רעים, וזה טוב לשמוע משהו יפה, והוא שואל אם יש משהו שאתה רוצה להוסיף לפני שאני אתחיל.
כן.
Okay. He wants to add something?
לעשות 1000 הסכם של שלום בחוץ לארץ, זה לא יביא שלום בין שתי העמים שגרים בו בארץ.
Okay, so he wants to say absolutely, and he knows that that's the situation and the perceptions outside, and he doesn't believe that even 1,000 peace agreements made outside of this land will bring the change that we need, because it needs to be based on our experience and our needs here in this land.
אנחנו يخبط لانه لأساس سوق של אהבה פנימית, אמון בין העמים שגרים בו בארץ, איך לחיות ביחד בצורה משותפת. זה מה שמעניין אותנו, בלהרוג את הפחד הקיים בין האנשים.
And he's saying it's vital for us to break down the barriers between us, the stereotypes, the misunderstandings, and instill an appreciation and even love for each other before trying to do some agreement on paper.
האנטרסים של האנשים הרעים שעושים הסתה רעה בו בארץ היא לא תעזור לאף אחד, להפך, היא רק מגדלת המבול של הדם, שכל יום ירד דם, פיגועים ואלימות ודברים כאלה, לא יביא חיים טובים, חיים מכובדים לאנשים, להפך, רק מביא רע ורק מביא אלימות ושנאה.
He says, focus on violence the way media doesn't build hope. It just builds despair and tragedy and doesn't lead us in the right direction.
באמת אכפת לנו, באמת להגיד לכם את התמונה האמיתית, יש רוב גדול שאנשים שמחפשים איך לחיות ביחד בצורה משותפת, אבל הפחד הוא גורם להם לא להגיד זה בקול גבוה.
And he says that the truth of the matter is the vast majority of people here in this land want to coexist in peace. Unfortunately, some of them are too afraid to say that publicly, but that is what they all yearn for.
תודה לכם.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
As he says.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ziad. Phil, please, you were going to start about your own experience and also to tell us, yes, you told us, so you married an Israeli girl some years ago. How many years ago was it?
2003, we got married. And 2005, we moved to Israel.
Wow, so nearly 20 years.
Correct.
Excellent. So please go ahead with your story and what you wanted to.
Okay, I will do. Thank you very much. Okay, so also thank you, Ziad, and good evening, everyone. My name is Phil Saunders, and I am a British Jew who moved to Tel Aviv in 2005. And while I was there, I joined Combatants for Peace and attended many peace gatherings in Tel Aviv's Rabin Square under huge banners calling for 2 states for 2 peoples, peace now, and other slogans reflecting the values I'd learned in Europe: freedom, tolerance, justice, democracy, and multiculturalism. And then in 2013, I moved to the small Israeli town of Tzur Adasa, where we are right now, situated right next to the Green Line, and met Ziad in the Palestinian town of Husan, just 3 kilometers away. Now,
Phil,
I imagine...
Excuse me, Phil. You are
Sure.
way too fast. You are too fast.
Okay.
You cannot follow up with the transcription.
Sorry. So I'll slow down as we have time.
Thank you so much for the enthusiasm, but just a little slow.
No problem. So I began in Tel Aviv, and I believed from everything I learned there that the whole idea was 2 states for 2 peoples. And then when I moved in 2013 to this town in Tzur Adasa, right next to the Green Line, and met Ziad, my eyes were opened to new things. I'd imagined that I would see life in a war zone here. But instead, I was amazed to see peaceful economic interactions between Ziad's town and the ultra-Orthodox Jewish town of Beitar Illit, which is directly next to them. And I'll never forget what Ziad said to me when we first met. He said, Phil, you're a really great guy, but please stop talking about 2 states. We don't want a wall built between us and you. We need you. And when I then met his friends in the town, they spoke extremely pragmatically. They said, 1 state, 2 states, 10 states, we don't care. Just as long as we can live and work with dignity and put food on the table for our families. And this all came as a very big surprise to me, because I had always thought that they wanted to be completely separate and independent from us Israelis. And suddenly I was hearing a message completely different from Ziad and his friends. they told me that from their perspective, the ideal outcome would be to have the entire land open the way it used to be, the way he remembered as a child. And as I grew to know the various kinds of Jews living in this area, I discovered that they also feel deeply connected to the land in its entirety, with similarly pragmatic concerns relating to their family, to money and religion and their personal safety. And there are two ways to drive from my town to Jerusalem, which is where many of us work on a daily basis. There's a direct route using a tunnel underneath Bethlehem, and there is another way, which is a long and winding route through the hills. And when I first got here, very few people in my town were using the tunnels road because they were afraid to drive past Palestinian towns like Ziad in order to get to the entrance of the tunnel. But in the years which have followed, Ziad and I have been working together to bring safety to that route past his town and inside his town and in the other towns in the area, so that people in my town can now get to work more quickly and also benefit from economic relations with our Palestinian neighbors.
That's brilliant. And I'm not quite sure I understood how was this conviction brought up that the people could use this tunnel?
Well,
did you personally intervene in this process, or did the association intervene in this process?
Yes, it was a lot of work to change the reality. There were many cases of stone throwing along that road, and I said to Ziad that we're going to have to change this if we're going to be able to coexist in our area. And so the work began in a very concentrated and combined effort. Husan is a very traditional Muslim town where imams in the mosques have a big influence on everyone. And so Ziad began, after I said we're going to have to sort this out, he began by talking to the imams and persuaded them to start preaching against violence and to beg all of the parents to take full care and responsibility regarding their children. And then once many of them became convinced that they needed to bring a change to the town and the area, they began internal security patrols to prevent any other people from breaching the peace in the area. And we then reached out to the army and requested that they would install bright lights to light up any dark corners where a stone thrower could hide. And they were happy to assist us with that. And we also established kiosks at the town's entrance with a dual function of selling products to Israeli customers, but also being open all around the clock to maintain an ever watchful eye. And between all of those efforts, in 2017, we brought the stone throwing to a complete end. And then in 2018, the army was sufficiently satisfied that this was a permanent change. And they invited everybody from Husan that had a black mark on their name, because if you throw stones or participate in violence in any way, then you have a black mark and you're never allowed to apply for a permit to work in Israeli towns. And they were offered the chance to present their papers and request for a fresh start. And that day, 200 of the townspeople in Ziad's town received a fresh start, which means 200 breadwinners were suddenly able to earn much more money, which means 200 families are suddenly, and their families are quite large. So it was a lot of people immediately affected. And then it continued from then. And every year that goes by now, the relations are stronger and the coexistence is built more robust. So that's how we did it.
Thank you very much, Phil. That's really amazing. Because as I said before, also concerning Ziad's story, we are not used at all to listen to such stories, and I think it would be very, very much worth hearing that in the media here in Western countries, namely in Europe, because I think there is a problem. I think there is a focus on things that don't work. And of course, media often consider themselves informative people. So they need to, the journalists, they need to inform and informing about events and about, of course, what doesn't function well. But in this case, that would be very powerful and very useful to be informed also about functions positively and so well. What do you think about the role of media? And did you have est-ce que vous avez eu des essais de contacter les médias, des journalistes pour leur parler un peu de ces choses positives? Did you have attempts to meet with journalists so that people can spread around these amazing news about these positive things that you had?
Okay, so in answer, absolutely, we agree that unfortunately the media has a tendency to focus on the negative. War and violence makes a big noise and they love to show all of it, and they don't like to show enough the normal relations that actually happen in this land, and the good news stories that have happened here. Because 20 years ago, the relations were not good in this area. During the intifadas, they were very difficult. And we've managed to change it completely into a really strong working relationship. So we would love the media and everybody to talk about it and hear about it. And in answer to your question, have we reached out to journalists here? Yes, we have, but in a very selective way. We've built what we've done quite quietly, and we haven't wanted to make a splash about it. At the beginning, we were worried that if we made too much noise, then maybe some people would want to come along and wreck it, because there are some people maybe with interests that don't want peace to happen between Israelis and Palestinians. But yes, we have one particular journalist on Channel 12 News in Israel, who's a good friend of ours. His name is Ohad Hemel, and he's actually come to interview us twice. The one time most recently was in December, when he came to interview us about the commercial relations that we have. So, for example, those kiosks and all of the businesses that now have in Husan, all of their signs are written in Hebrew as well as Arabic. They're set up for Israeli clients, and so he interviewed the Israelis that were there and asked them about that. And so absolutely that was featured on the news in December. And then there was another time way back in September 2020 when he did us a great favor, and this is something Ziad didn't mention, but he did something fantastic, and he's a brilliant partner. I'm so lucky to have Ziad as a partner. When the pandemic hit and Israelis couldn't fly abroad the way we normally do, Ziad realized that there was an opportunity, because in his town, it's not just businesses. The businesses are up on the main road, but they also have these springs, beautiful natural springs and agricultural terraces down in the valley below. And he said, hey, maybe we should invite Israelis to come and visit our springs if they can't go traveling abroad. And so he posted a few photographs on Facebook to a group of nature lovers in Israel. And some of them decided to come and visit, and they had a wonderful time. And he took them around, and he gave them makluba, is the classic Palestinian dish, and so they got a cultural experience and a beautiful experience of going to somewhere they would never have gone before. And they went home and they told their friends and family about it. And so then lots more came, and in the end, it became slowly a flood until it got to Ohad Hemel, heard about it, and he came and interviewed Ziad and witnessed all of it and featured it again on the news. And then from then on, there were thousands coming. I remember every weekend there were full buses arriving every Friday morning for a trip in this week, and also on Saturday, so many people coming, and yeah, throughout the pandemic, it was a great opportunity. So as it happened, because of Ziad's ingenuity, unlike most of organizations which had to stop what they were doing during the pandemic, they weren't able to meet, and we actually reached a whole new level of more interactions between Israelis and Palestinians than ever before. So he's an amazing guy.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Sorry, and you said something very well. You said many things that were very impressive to me. But you said that even with 1,000 agreements, peace agreements concluded elsewhere, external to the region, there could not be any peace before people with town cooperation, people on the local level will start to work on it. And you also said that at the beginning, and I guess also not only at the beginning, you said, Ziad, that you faced quite a lot of criticism. And could you tell us more, or do you have any anecdote, any little story about an evolution when people on your side, on the Arab side, evolved, changed from a perspective of repelling, of defense, of not wanting to have interconnection to a more peaceful or positive perspective?
Okay, so I'll answer in a minute about the need for a suitable peace solution in this area, but I'll first translate your question to him and he can answer. אז הוא שאל, אם יש סיפור או משהו שאתה יכול להגיד על שהיו הרבה פלסטינים שהיו נגד מה שאתה עשית בהתחלה, לעבוד עם מתנחלים ודברים כאלה, ואיך הצלחת להפוך את זה לאט לאט, איך זה קרה שעכשיו הם מוכנים לקבל את זה?
קודם כל הקרבה, המרחק בין חוסן לביתר הוא רק רחוב אחד שחוטא, يعني הגבול הוא רק רחוב, يعني מביתר לחוסן זה כמה מטרים, 5-6 מטר זהו, يعني שפותחים את הדלת, שקמים בבוקר, פותחים את החלון, רואים את המתנחל והמתנחל שפותח את החלון הוא רואה אותנו.
Okay, so he's saying one of the interesting situations that's made it easier for him to be a trailblazer in working with settlers is that his town is directly opposite this very large ultra-Orthodox city called Beitar Illit, and there's just a road separating them. So they see each other all the time.
كفار حسان هو 9,000 أناشين قارين بو، بيتار عليتي كمعات 90,000.
And he says Husan has about 9,000 residents. Beitar Illit has 60-70,000 residents, something like that.
אז تحلوا العبود على النوعر إخ لشخنيعو تام لحيوت بياحد إمشكنين شلانو إلا نبرر حيرت بمت رأينو تكيشلون شلا بوليتيكاين رأينو هربي بمت لو عسولانو شم دبارتو از نحن حيابين لأمين إخ لأتصير سوق شل حيم وشتافين بو بإزور شلانو.
And so he says he began by working specifically with the youth and getting Israelis and Palestinian young people together. And absolutely, he did. The minute I met him, he wanted me to bring my daughter to meet his children. And we've got a photo from the very early days when we built a snowman when it snowed. It doesn't happen very often in this area that you have snow, but every 2 or 3 years there might be some snow, and so and they all played together. And one of the best ways is to create a normality of them getting to know each other and playing together, and because then they grow up and in the same way that when he began, he remembers that it was normal back then, and then unfortunately during the intifadas it stopped being normal, and so he began by making that normal again.
באמת לא מוזר אצלנו באזור שלנו לראות שכן מביתר רוקד בחתונת אצלנו כדוגמה.
And he's saying it's not unusual at all now to have ultra-Orthodox Israelis coming and dancing at their weddings.
וגם אנחנו משתתפים כאילו כמו חיים משותפים إلا نبرراع نحن באמת حيين عسيم سوق شل حيين مشتفين.
And he's saying the proximity really forces the need to get along because they're living side by side. And so it was an opportunity, but it was still hard work.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so you're saying there's no particular incidents that he can recall where everything changed overnight. It was a process. La means slowly, slowly.
Slowly, we yeah.
And this is actually something I learned from Ziad. He told me peace doesn't come immediately.
Yeah.
And it's better to do it in slow stages. If you suddenly change everything overnight, everybody gets afraid and starts reacting, going, no, 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 we're not supposed to do this. Whereas if you change it step by step, then everybody adjusts to the reality. And so slowly, slowly, he managed to do this until everybody just got used to seeing the Israelis, including whether they're settlers or whatever. They don't even notice anymore. And
Ziad, Ziad, we can really feel, you can really express this enthusiasm, this love for your neighbors and for peace. That's really amazing. And I just need to interrupt you a little second, because we have the privilege to have our last panelist, Moshe Lev-Ran, who joined us. And so welcome, Moshe. You had some technical problems, apparently.
I'm very sorry, because I just ran out now from, I'm a director in our municipality.
Okay.
So I'm rushing from one meeting to the other meeting.
Don't worry, Moshe, I'll introduce you very quickly. You are the CEO of Barkan Industrial Park in Judea, Samaria. Is it correct?
No.
Okay, correct me then.
I'm one of the factories in Barkan Industrial Zone, which is east of Tel Aviv, let's say. And we are one factory from 160 factories in this industrial zone.
Okay.
And I'm the export manager, which we export to 22 countries in the world.
Excellent. And I would like to ask you, Moshe, because time is short. I just would like to ask you a very specific question. You've heard Phil and you have heard Ziad talking about what they are experiencing in their partnership. And can you tell us a little more? Did you experience something like that, or does it sound familiar to you?
First, yes, and we are very active and cooperating with our Palestinian workers. In our factory, we are 160 workers, which 60% of them are Palestinians. And we don't count them as workers. We count them as a big family. And we do a lot of things with them that you can't even imagine. For example, we give them health insurance because they don't have it in the West Bank. We give them loans. We give them a big salary that in the Palestinian talk, they are very rich. But I want to give you I didn't hear what Ziad said, the whole story, because they had a communication problem. But I want to give you one figure to remember very well. You know, a Palestinian family, they have in their family something like around 10 people. Because his mother, his father is living. So 10 people. Do you know how many Palestinians every day walk to work in Israel? I will make it simple. 100,000 Palestinians with permit are coming to work in Israel. Now figure out 100,000 times 10, we are feeding every day 1 million Palestinians. The lower salary of a simple workers, we have also engineers and everything, but the lowest salary that they get, it's 1,600 euro per month. That's plenty because of cost of living in the West Bank. It's very low. So they come to work happily and they go back happily. It's happened in their village. They are asking all the time if we can join them to the factory. So obviously, if we have a place, we will take them. More than that, engineer. Our engineers are plant manager, machine engineer, chemist. They all earn no less than 2,500 euro per month.
Wow, excellent.
Let's say if they could work, if it was industrial in the West Bank, they may get $200 per month. Now compare $200 to 1,600 euro per month, and you will understand what we are doing.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Now, this salary, what gives them? It gives them a better education for their kids. It gives them a better housing. It gives them a better clothing. It gives them a healthy food, not just bread and water and olives.
Excellent.
And it gives them future. We show them the light in the channel. It gives them future. And I want to give you another example. We have something like 6 workers in our factory that they have their own business in the West Bank. They work in our factory, but he have a shoe shop, he have electricity shop, he have a bakery shop. So they have 2 salaries per month. How could he open a business? Because he got a nice money from us. So always, I say, if I speak in the Parliament of Geneva, or in the Parliament of Spain, or in the Senate, I say to all of you guys, the peace will come only by economic, nothing else. Not our politics, not their politics. The economic will create the peace. I didn't invent the wheel. You know, MacArthur, after the World War II, after all Europe was destroyed, he decided that the peace will come via economic. And then all Europe raised up. That's my aim. And I, every morning, goes to my workers, ask them to Abdallah, Muhammad, doesn't matter, how is this family, how they feel, if they need something, and they do need something. One of the workers, the oldest workers, you know, he need a loan for the marriage of his daughter. So he came to our owner. Our owner asked him, how much you want? He said, 50,000 shekels. He instructed our treasurer to give him 50,000 shekels immediately and return when you will have.
Moshe,
sorry.
Thank you very much. I need to interrupt you. Just you will get the floor again, but I just need to interrupt you because they are. This is also time for questions, and some of our audience would like to ask the panelists some questions. I let you finish, but I would like also your position concerned. I've got a question for you, Moshe. Before you arrived, there was this sentence that really touched me. Even with 1,000 peace agreements agreed anywhere else in the world, external to the region, we cannot get peace. It's only with cooperation at a local level that we can reach peace, when people at the local level start to work together, to be together, to accept each other's. What is your position about it?
not only position because I'm acting on that. We have a group that most of the people are managers from the side of Hebron, including a joint venture with the University of Ariel. And once a month, we meet together to see how we can build factories together, either in the West Bank or either in Israel territory. So we are active on that all year long.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think there are some questions also for Ziad and Phil. The question was, what is the association, your association, Hope and Peace, Path of Hope and Peace, sorry. What is your association all about? And what is the main point or the various points of cooperation?
Okay, so I will answer that by directly echoing what Moshe just said. The first thing the Palestinians in this area said to me is, we don't care about the politics. As long as we can put food on the table for our families and work in dignity, we're happy. And so that's exactly what we built here. We've been working on economics and also simultaneously on security, because it's a win-win. If we're working together, we build trust together, and then we don't want to fight against each other anymore. We have something to lose, and this has been the story of Ziad's town. Okay, that they were totally disconnected from us for many years, and it wasn't good for them at all, and they really suffered from it. And now they're really gaining from it, and they're actually becoming empowered by it, because once they have economic sustainability, they're not dependent upon handouts, and they're not caught in a victim identity anymore. And so they're so much stronger than they can remember in decades. And so exactly what Moshe is saying is the focus of what we're doing, and we want to expand it outwards across the land. And we also, though, there is another element to this that we're starting to view this as a pilot project or a proof of concept of how the different communities in this land can work together and be complementary instead of contradictory. We're different, we each have different things to offer each other, and when we choose to cooperate and work together, we change the reality. And I mentioned that I want to say something about political solutions. And so I'll just, the key point is breaking us up into two sections of the land, according to the two-state model, would wreck this golden opportunity for us to work together. And as the story goes of King Solomon and the baby, the mother who truly loves the baby doesn't want to see it cut in two. So that's how we feel about the land. We don't want to cut the land up. We want to live and coexist in this land together for mutual benefit. Okay, but it's important to note that our mutual love of this land doesn't mean that we want to merge into one people. We are two very distinct peoples with different cultures and languages and religions and historical narratives, but nevertheless, there are many things that we do share, and we're looking now towards Europe to inspire us as to the ways that it is possible to be two peoples in one land. For example, in Belgium, there are two different linguistic nationalities that coexist very well in a federal arrangement. And in Switzerland, there are four. And a few years ago, Reuven Rivlin, when he became president of Israel, characterized Israel as being composed of four principal tribes. And so we are really seeing that there could be a model which certainly isn't the two-state solution. We don't want that. That would ruin all the coexistence that we've been building and that Moshe is building. But at the same time, we don't want to just be one democracy altogether. We want to build a federal arrangement that would really match the needs of two peoples that love the same land and want to live and coexist in the same land together.
I would like to strengthen your wording according to the subject that you raise, okay? Listen, guys, you know, in our factory, we celebrate the Muslim holidays and the Jewish holidays. We make in our plan a Pesach Seder, and the Arab, the Palestinian joined us with the Tarbuka and everything. They know all the songs of Pesach, and we celebrate with them the Hillel Yitzchak. We don't care about your color. Now, the gentleman Zaid that is sitting near you, I can't say that he's a Palestinian. He looks like me. He looks one of us. I mean, you can't say who is Muslim, who is Christian, who is Jewish. We all same. We all together. And I don't care about politics and not about politicians. Tomorrow I have a group, students from United States. When I explain and they see with their own eyes what we are doing in our factory, peace economic, I say one thing right in the beginning: no politic questions. Stay outside of the gate of the factory. Here you come to see, and I give you some tools against the BDS. Because they don't know, the BDS, they don't know what they are talking. They don't know. Most of them, they don't know even where is Israel. If they look in the map, they don't know where it is. And when I spoke in the parliament in Spain, outside Palestinians was there from the, you know, from the PLO, and they start almost eat us. And they scream on us. And I asked one of them, do you help to my Palestinian worker? You are sitting here in Spain with air condition, you get a nice salary, you eat nice paella. Who cares? You care about my Abdallah or Muhammad. You give them salary, you give them food. You just destroyed their future. And I say another thing. And if we talked about 1 million mouths that they will give food, just imagine if we can build another industrial zone, which will bring another 100,000 workers, which will feed 2 million people, Palestinians. Do I need politics? Do I need this prime minister or that prime minister, a Palestinian worker? When he wake at 4 o'clock in the morning, he think only one thing, not to kill me, how to put food in the table. That's his concern.
Okay, thank you very much.
To his kids.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are running short of time. It was really impressive. I really enjoyed it. Diana wanted to add something.
Yes, I would like to add something. We've got a few questions, but I see that most of you already answered these questions. Now there is a question coming up, is that Moshe, this is also a question for Moshe, and then there is also a question, I will start perhaps with Phil and Ziad. How can we help you? Because which kind of villages are you intending to deal with? If there are leaders, other leaders you would like to deal with, is it okay also with the Palestinian Authority, or you leave that out and you just deal between yourselves? And this is one question for Phil and Ziad. Then the next question for Moshe. Moshe, if I can just ask you, please, if you don't mind, when you speak, not to move, because if not, your picture becomes very blurred the whole time, okay? And I appreciated very much what you said, because it is true that the most important is to bring food on the table, to be like to have a good relationship and to construct together. And I know that you had spoken to me about a project that you also wanted to do with Sheikh Al-Tamimi, who unfortunately is not with us because he had a lot of problems trying to connect. He is in Egypt at the moment. And you would like the European countries also to finance a sort of Barkan island of peace in Gaza, near the border, for the Gazawis to be able to have a job, to bring also food to their families. Like this also, the politics will fall down. There won't be all this firing from Hamas on Israel. There will be something more constructive. So perhaps we can start with Phil and Ziad. We will give you, if you don't mind, because we are really running on time, we will give you 2 minutes to answer. Then afterwards, we will give another 2 minutes to Moshe. And then we will just put a resume to finish the meeting.
Okay, so I will answer as quickly as I can. Yeah, we are based in the Jerusalem, Bethlehem area, and we are now turning our eyes to the north, the Samaria area, and also to the area of Hebron down south. And we are looking for partners who will support us in building the same model of economic coexistence and working together to build trust and joint security. And I could easily imagine that we could certainly work with Moshe and everyone else. So let's talk after this. But in terms of what Europe can help us with, please put out the message as far and wide as you can that this is the way to build robust peace that produces immediate win-win benefits for all of us. And please find a way to convince them not to keep talking about the two-state solution, which is dead and buried from our perspective, would ruin everything that we're trying to do. Exactly as Ziad said, we don't want a wall built between us. We want to be able to work together. That's the future, and we need to get everyone on board. So if you can put the word out and get people to actually start, first of all, opening their minds to a different way of peace building, and secondly, maybe investing in what we're building here. That's the kind of support that we certainly need, and I'm guessing probably Moshe would appreciate too.
Okay, so we will speak about that later, Phil. We will keep in contact with you and with Ziad, and we will see the projects you would like to do, and we will try and put your projects forward. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Moshe, I know that you've got an excellent project also in view. And if you want to speak perhaps 2 minutes, as I said, about it, and then we'll finish the session. Thank you very much.
First, it's a big leader in Hebron. His name is Jaafri. It's a very famous family, and he is very active in doing economic businesses with the Israelis. So actually, is one of the next leaders of the PLO. That's first of all. Second of all, I don't know if you are aware that our defense minister allow now to pass to work in Israel from Gaza Strip 10,000 workers every day. That's the first time. Now, somebody raised the idea to build the industrial zone near Gaza Strip. So just for you to know, it was the biggest industrial zone in Erez, okay, near Gaza Strip. And when the Hamas took over, they bombed this area and the manufacturers ran away. So my idea is, and I spoke with you about it, Europe, together with United States, with Israel, should invest in building industrial zone that will employ 2,000 people, 200,000 people. And then the Hamas will be very worried to shoot rockets on European project.
Okay.
They will shoot in their legs. Because if Israel will do it, again, they will shoot the rockets. You know,
Yes.
I live near Gaza Strip, and I have a lot of rockets in my head. I have 30 seconds to run to my shelter house room. So if you ask me what we need to do, we need to join Europe community with United States, with Israel, and to build a big industrial zone near Gaza Strip.
So I will make a short summary in French. So what you told us, ce que vous nous avez dit, c'est que votre idée, c'est que il serait très utile de construire en fait une zone industrielle qui soit à l'intérieur même du territoire de Gaza pour éviter d'être bombardé comme cela a été le cas par le passé. À partir de la bande de Gaza, parce que il y aura personne à l'intérieur de Gaza qui va vouloir bombarder son propre territoire, envoyer des bombes sur son propre territoire. Et ainsi, il y aurait la possibilité sur une petite bande à l'intérieur de Gaza de construire, de mettre en place environ 200 000, si j'ai bien compris, 200 000 postes d'emploi pour des habitants de la bande de Gaza. Allow me to make the same summary in English. So you told us, Moshe, that your aim was to create an island, not an island physically, but
zone.
Yes, in which inside of the Gaza region. So not in Israeli territories, but inside of the Gazawi territories, where up to 200,000 people could come and work inside of the Gaza territories.
At least.
At least.
200,000 workers before the Hamas was bombing.
Yes.
They were.
Yes.
Every day. 200,000 people.
That's an amazing idea, and we will finish with this beautiful, brilliant idea, and we will try to transmit it to newspapers, and we will try to transmit it to the Swiss Parliament or to some other parliaments in Europe, in order for you to obtain support. We pray and hope that it will happen and come true. And we would like to thank you. Nous aimerions vraiment vous remercier. We would like to thank each and all of you for this time spent together. Thank you so much, Ziad. Thank you so much, Phil. Thank you very much also, Moshe. What you told us was so amazing and so different from what we've been accustomed, we've been used to hear in the news, hear from a Western or European point of view. So to hear people working and cooperating as family, you mentioned the word family, Moshe, that's really something that amazes me. And I really want to thank you in the name of ACD. Diane, would you like to add any words?
I think you said everything, and you panelists have said everything. It is fantastic. And we will try with our network to help you the way we can. So of course, we will stay in contact, as we've already been in contact, and this time, hopefully even more in contact, to really try and see physically what can be done. Okay, and
another one more very important thing.
Yes.
The European should stop boycotting the Israeli product.
Yeah.
This is you can do, and you can spread it, because if they will boycott our product, the only people that will suffer is the Palestinian, because we will not have job to give them. So all this bullshit of boycott, it's harming only the Palestinian, not Israelis. You know, I'm a kibbutznik, you know, so I will not have a job. I go to the cows and I milk the cows and I have a job. But what the Palestinian will do? So all this bullshit of boycott It's nonsense. Europe should not boycott Israeli product point blank. Merci.
We agree.
Thank you very much.
Boycotting just hurts the Palestinians.
Exactly. Thank you very much. And thank you for the excellent example that you are giving and for founding with solid bricks a fantastic future for the next generations to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And by the way, we've got a lot of messages saying that your speech was wonderful and heartwarming. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Merci
Bye-bye.
beaucoup à vous.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Ziad. Feeling